Night drops without permission, and the order comes low under the pulse of distant guns. Build a bridge by morning that no one can cross. Problem: make a lure that drags bombs away from the real crossing. Constraint: first light in hours. Recon by 0615. Attack at last light. Stakes: if the trick fails, the real bridge, and the hamlet beside it, takes the hit. Keene reads the scrap twice, folds it once, presses it to his chest to make the lie stick, then faces the tributary east of the Orne. It's narrow, 28 meters by his eye, current pushing a steady 1.5 meters per second, and the clock in that hiss is loud. The actual Bailey will launch elsewhere under nets, already delayed by a missing pin. This bend is bait. If the bait works, people live. If it doesn't, the first cost lands on houses within 600 meters. Marie Vallois slips out of the bocage with mud on her sleeve where a small tricolor should be. She maps the ground quickly. 3 farmsteads within that 600 ring, names on her tongue, beds she has slept in, doors she has kicked in the occupation's first winter. Curfew holds people in, but cattle and fever ignore curfew. She needs to keep them off a road they are about to make look irresistible. Every knock she's about to give is a lie that keeps a family below ground. Every lie is a choice with a cost she has to carry. The convoy noses in under trees with lamps hooded red, tarps tied over ash poles, drums, cork floats, things that turn into other things if lashed and painted right. The first truck finds a bog pocket. It bucks, slews, sinks a wheel to the axle. Canvas slides with a wet whisper into black muck that stinks of old manure and petrol. Keene steps into it to his shins. The cold bites. The stink climbs. Canvas is skin for this trick. He either saves it and loses minutes or writes off realism to save time. He calls 6 men. Saplings lever, boots slide, rope bites palms. The truck wrenches free with a tear in the night and a minute hand that doesn't care. He's bought the skin and spent time. The first irreversible cost. Delay they can't get back. Boyd waits on the high bank with a stolen Zeiss pressed to his face. He is the man who knows what 2,000 meters does to truth. To a camera, not the thing but the light off it is real. He sketches angles in damp clay with a grease pencil, a diagram for a sun not yet risen. If intercepts are honest, the Luftwaffe comes on a shallow dive from 40 degrees northeast, 2,000 to 2,500 meters. The signals have been thin. The ether lies. He says what he has to believe to work. Shadow cells, not shape. He lays coins early, lampblack, soot, glint, knowing each coin has a price if it's wrong. They start the lie. Ash poles go up too easily. 3 men on a pole make it bow, so Keene doubles lashings but keeps the silhouette slight. Oil drums float on cork rings and knock like cheap bells as rope hauls them into position. Drum skins are thin, pretending to be poured concrete. They need to read heavy from the sky without looking new. Hands come away, striped from rope. A cough turns gag at tar. Canvas tightens over the frame. Tar slicks it to hold a sheen that might read as water. Keene spaces fake piers by eye. Too even would betray him. Too sloppy, and nobody believes it. He threads the needle and ends the thought with a decision. Leave it imperfect. Perfect draws attention. Marie moves ahead like a fuse. She blocks blind lanes with a coil of white cloth, steals it back for a baby swaddle, knocks hard at doors, knuckles, pistol butt, and doesn't wait for welcome. Go to cellar. Move photographs and the ham into the root room. Hang a sheet in the hedge if you flee so I can count you. Leave cattle in the night field today. A farmer lifts his cap. She stands in his doorway until his wife's hand on his forearm tells him which war they are in. She hates the certainty in her voice and uses it anyway. Boyd drags a bicycle down the brushed clay approach. He locks the rear wheel to score a scar. His boots lay shallow ruts. A child's toy writes to a reader he'll never see. He wires broken mirror and foil strips to false railings, angled 20 degrees to catch a sun that isn't here yet. The glints wink under red light. He checks the Zeiss against a dog-eared aerial of a real crossing, then nudges a drum 10 inches west. He mutters the intercept numbers and hears engines in clouds that might not be there. Memory makes its own pressure. Keene paints shadow. It's absurd and intimate, lampblack smeared into a crescent along the upstream edge. The sun at first light will sit where Boyd says. The crescent must bend wrong to read right because canvas doesn't ripple. He paints ripples that don't move, shallow arcs that will blur at speed, and hates himself for how much joy his hand takes in getting it almost true. A cold breath from the south pebbles tar. A warmer breath softens it. He knows at 2,000 meters this either fools a pilot for a heartbeat or gets people killed. The river doesn't care. Its current whispers against drumskin and pulled rope. They string a line from bank to bank, and a man on the far side tugs a slow cadence to write a V that points at the dummy abutment. From a cockpit, the V freezes into traffic. In a bombsight glance, it smears into proof. Boyd insists on it. Every real crossing grimes the water with small wakes. Their staged ripple quivers like a fish and then becomes a word. Radio traffic is a whisper at best. Runners slide under hedges. Lamp blinks mimic fireflies if your heart needs to think so. The Bofors guns sit 800 meters back under nets. Their crew smoke without flame, fingers drumming, eyes on a slice of sky that changes when aircraft come. Keene keeps his set dark. A DF set at this hour is teeth. He refuses to give it his throat. He chooses not to speak, not to light, not to roll tires where heat will print. His night is subtraction. He thinks of the real bridge the way you think of food when you're starving. Bailey sections squat under nets fine as lace. The launch meant for dawn slips because one retaining pin vanished into mud. Men fish in ooze for a sliver of steel while the river rises a thumb's width an hour. The decoy must buy hours now, not minutes. He has to land between overbuilding, a mirror-polished lie, and underbuilding, a cloth trick the Luftwaffe can read from a weather patrol. The flaw in him wants to polish. He chooses to leave edges breathing. Marie returns from a last farm, damp to the knees. One white sheet hangs where there was none. Someone fled to the orchard trench. She coached a mother on open mouths, loose jaws, hands off ears, told a grandfather to take the garlic and the family pictures to the root room, tucked a rosary she doesn't believe into her own pocket because the weight steadies her. She glances at their fake span and sees appetite. To make it work, she must make her neighbor's house look disposable. The ground speaks. Under a lane of low trees, a convoy's engine coughs, then settles into patient idle. Hooded lights, drivers hunched, ammunition seeking a lane that won't kill it. If it turns onto the brushed approach, it will stamp heat and pattern exactly where they've painted a story, and a camera later will call them honest. Marie steps into exhaust wash with her scarf raised and a pistol high. White cloth, black threat, the only grammar that cuts through engines. The lead driver chooses not to kill her tonight. He grinds into a new path, white-lipped, while exhaust writes heat in the damp for a lens they can't control. Hands work like the sky is watching, because consequence watches whether the enemy does or not. Knots are retied. Hessian stretches and goes up with stolen nails that bend and break. Tar warms over a candle under a mess tin until it runs again, then slicks over duck canvas to catch light. Boyd compares Zeiss view to his creased print. He pushes a drum with his shoulder, taps the canvas with his palm, listens to the tone it gives. He corrects by hand span and leaves it that way because precision reads wrong at this scale. Weather shifts. Drizzle stops. Mist smears low on the water, then tears. The broken deck of cloud sits at 3,000 feet, gray on darker gray. Keene looks up, sees where morning will lance through and stripe the river, and thinks about what that will do to a painted crescent. Boyd says it will be fine if their approach angle stays true. His mouth knows it's a prayer. Small choices claw. Make railings higher for a longer shadow? Thicken silhouette for strong glints? Keene chooses thin, ash strips painted black, not planks, because mass reads new, and new reads wrong for a field span under pressure. They brush the clay approach with horizontal brooming, light at first, heavier near the span, the way tires write when they slow to cross. A corporal stamps haphazard marks. Boyd stops him. The Luftwaffe expects order. Give them the order they believe in, and they'll attack the neatness. It's ugly to use a man's training against him. It's necessary. Keene halts to blur the shadow edge. He pulls a glove, tests tar with his palm for a degree of give, then slurs the crescent with river mud and soot until it looks like water nibbling at light. Leaning out too far, he feels hands clamp his belt, Marie anchoring him. He bends the upstream curl a fraction. Boyd's note, current bites harder on this bank. A small truth set in place quickly makes the whole lie sit better. A runner comes with word turned thin by running. Pin found, pin lost again, water higher, Bailey reach uncertain. The delay is hours now. Keene doesn't look at his watch. A glance would be admission. The decoy must hold not just morning recon, but dusk strike, when clouds and sun will revise everything. Boyd stares at the underside of the sky and argues with it without words. A boy cries in a cowshed. Marie goes to shut the sound down before it draws eyes. She finds him with straw on his wet cheeks and a calf nudging his neck. The floor heaves under the slow thud of artillery. She swallows to pop her ears, open mouth, soft jaw, the way she taught the mother. She leaves a white cloth in the hedge with her hand on it for a count and breaks her own radio's logic because she knows how eyes move. Not everything you mark is for the enemy. They work in red light. A watch face flashes. Keene kills it with a palm. He repeats the schedule without looking. Build from 2200 to 0330. Recon around 0615. Main strike window 1800 to 2000 if intercepts hold. Saying it makes the hours feel owned. Boyd says 40 degrees. Even he hears himself begin to sound like a man reciting a creed, and that scares him enough to hedge the glints for noon and dusk both. Hessian knots to saplings while crickets whir. Artillery thuds like bad thunder. A tin pops as it cools too fast. Someone jams a thumb under a lashing. Black Lampblack writes a lopsided mustache on a face. The canvas skin tightens. For a second, it reads as solid from 10 meters. Keene looks away on purpose, resets his eye to the distance a pilot will have, looks again, and the line is clean enough to hit. That's the point. Engines arrive first as a hum that pins the canvas skin. Not a heavy bomber throb, a patrol machine with a camera blister. Keene doesn't look up. He watches his crescent quiver in the breeze and says, "Now." A decoy only works if someone sees it and chooses it. The clock jumps without waiting. Boyd lies in mud with the Zeiss locked to one eye. The vector he chalked on a ration box toggles in his head as the camera plane banks shallow. From this angle, abutments must flare, not pinch. Approach wants clean scars. Piers need a darker upper lip. Weight lives in dark. He speaks it fast to make his hands believe him. Keene throws two men onto the clay road. Boots smack damp. They drag the sideways of their soles to make horizontal brooming smarter. They pull the bicycle out again, lock the wheel, wobble the line like a nervous rider. Approaches need a story. He lets the men add mistakes. A lens loves crispness. He has to make the eye guess. A wake must be there. Keene nods at the punt that won't move and the rope wired to it. They pull slow. Ripples walk toward the false abutment and break where Boyd points. The camera port catches a flash in cloud. The rope sings once. Keene hopes that line says exactly what they need it to. Traffic here, not there. Marie hears the engine, feels it coil between her ribs. She's been at gates, stalling ritual movement, silencing milk, slowing men. She slides through orchard wet and sees their span gleam in mist. A hunger to smash it moves through her. She lets it pass and holds to work. Above, the reconnaissance machine dips. Boyd flattens, aligns Zeiss view with his creased print. He mutters about glints, set 20 degrees, and smears soot on the photo where a real shadow curves with current. This is arithmetic under weather, not art. If the number's off, the Luftwaffe will choose the straight line to the real crossing. He believes this because he has to. Keene calls the glints. 2 men run the canvas edge where the ash poles double, wire mirrors and foil into place, tilt them to argue noon and dusk both. Flash wrong and you tip a head away. Flash right and you tip it toward death. He hates how clinical that thought sounds in his head. Tar thickens under nails. Keene drags a brush to make wet, not uniform. Water shines irregularly. Overbuild, and the thing looks new. Underbuild, and it's a sheet on sticks. He drags one darker stripe to read as plank seam from high and stops because restraint is part of the trick. The camera shutter clacks like a metronome, but only in his skull. The reconnaissance machine banks, gifts them one more look, then is gone. Its absence rings. Boyd hisses. They've logged us. First plate set the category. Later disagreement reads as lie. He wants to freeze the set now. Dusk will rewrite light. He can't fix both. He hates that math. Engines again. Ground. New. Close. The ammunition convoy noses toward the brushed approach, hooded, eager. A white arrow someone planted days ago offers an easy lane exactly where the lie is set. Marie sees it, runs, raises cloth and pistol, fires into ditch gravel. The crack is punctuation. Drivers' faces appear, white coins and slits. She shouts in French and English, "Mines, no entry, for God's sake, move." An officer 2 trucks back makes a flat hand. They reverse, metal complaining, exhaust heat printing in mud. It's a save, and it leaves a ghost the Luftwaffe might catch. Boyd scuffs the convoy's tread with his boots, smears clarity into smudge, vandalizes truth. At 2,000 meters, sharp edges speak too quickly. He breaks the sentence. A farmer undoes the next fix with need. Rope in hand, cowbell tucked, he lifts their marker to take cattle out. Marie meets him and drops her voice into his childhood. He shakes her off. Keene arrives with tar on his glove and no time for a debate over milk. He points at the fake and the real and the house between. There will be planes here tonight. The farmer reads the line, spits, calls 2 boys to move cattle through orchard, away from the ripe road. The bell's song fades, and the reason holds only because it was made in time. Recon is done. The day keeps testing them. The set crackles with German numbers, British weather, luck. An intercept lands clean enough to print. Attack at last light. Multiple elements. Boyd writes 1800-2000 on his ration box. His painted shadow loves morning. Evening flips it. He says it aloud. At dusk, the shadow lies. The sentence reweights the work. Dusk is a cheat. Cloud breaks, reforms, knits thin. Ground mist hides water texture and edges rails with silver. Boyd redraws in mud with his thumb. Set longer shadow? It bows the deck from this vector. Do nothing? A pilot's doubt spots the wrong crescent. He chooses soft correction. He bends the soot into a smear that suggests a new angle without shouting it. It's a compromise and a risk. A tracer rises from the Bofors to the south, a training habit that should have stayed in daylight. Its light washes the tributary and flattens their textures. Canvas becomes canvas. Keene freezes. Boyd swears. The flare dies. The truth it revealed lives in the men who saw it. Keene orders burlap bags dipped in mud, dropped in a chain to break sheen, to seed a false texture back. They add cork floats a half-meter out from piers to tease eddies. Fingers dab tar to spot creosote. They run the staged wake again, reversed, learning the river's accent at a new hour, and knowing each pull hooks lives. A boy hands Marie a white sheet. She takes it gently and muds it before it can become a beacon. She uses it later for an opposite duty. For now, she sets it to shift eyes away from people. By mid-afternoon, the arithmetic is simple and cruel. The real bridge won't launch by evening. Civilians in the far farmstay refuse to leave. The Luftwaffe will come under soup-thick light. The decoy must hold through dusk. Keene has runners mask the convoy route with nettles, bleed engine heat with water, cut the radio to nothing. Orders pass by blink and hand. Silence is a tool they can control. Boyd climbs his bank one last time and finds one more wrong. The wind now kisses the canvas differently. His crescent's edge reads too clean. He smears a knuckle to fuzz it until it looks like someone rubbed it with a wet sleeve. It is the kind of fix that either saves them or digs the hole deeper. He accepts he is making a bet and doesn't say it. Heinemann's log will later note a secondary bridging site east of the Orne, likely Bailey, slant view at 0615, tracks and wakes. That single line becomes permission. Marie takes that permission and lays it next to a kitchen table, traces a circle with her finger around 3 roofs. The woman there refuses the dugout. Marie offers the cowshed's concrete posts instead, mouth open, mattresses along the inner wall. She is now tying string through choices she can't untie later. At 5, drizzle returns and slicks clay. Laughter pops here and there to bleed nerves. Keene walks the lie, taps poles, fingers lashings, palms canvas to feel heat and give. The first stick that hits where Boyd wants will walk down ripples that aren't water. Fire will chase tar. The hessian will sag and die. He will not be under it when it goes. He will not be far. His job is to decide which edge to stand on and when to step off. Dusk flattens hedges and river into 2 plains, the same language the bomb aimers will read. The Bofors crew check traverse, lay the barrel back, drape nets. They must not bracket the decoy with pretty arcs and make a map. Boyd watches the sky breathe. The glints he set now argue for and against him. He trusts the intercept, 40 degrees, shallow, 2200. He trusts trained men to see the picture they expect and to punish it. Marie tucks the last child under a table, shows a mother how to hold her mouth, builds a wall of mattresses against the interior wall. The mother fails to remember the mouth. Marie will fix it if she is here. She won't be. She has to be outside to stand in front of the wrong road one more time. Under the hedge, nets lift just enough to receive a greasy pin at 1710, handed like a relay baton. The Bailey team cheers small and quickly. Keene sends to Boyd, "Hold them 2 hours. If your shadow lies at 6:30, make it lie well." He is not being clever. He is giving shape to a sentence that might keep armor out of water. Wind freshens. Cloud breaks wrong. Boyd recalculates out loud, as if his voice could push light back into place. He sees clearly now. The weak spot is the shadow against current when the sun swings. He turns the last clean edge into blur. At 1752, a voice with rank tiers radio silence. Attack inbound at last light, multiple elements. Keene receives it, repeats it once, feels air thicken. He looks from fake to real. The next noise decides which bend gets opened like a book. Engines come as a tremor in mud, then as layered hum, then as a sawtooth under everything. Boyd lifts the Zeiss and draws a line through the gap. 40 degrees looks right, altitude lower, 2,000 or less. Low means darker shadow reads heavier. The mist islands burned off over the river. The tar sheen gleams when it should blur. A foil flash catches wrong on the left railing, still canted to morning. If the German mind hunts for tidy, strong, sparse cues, they've put a plate with a knife on it under a hungry eye. Keene feels the riddle he cannot solve fast enough. The real Bailey waits behind hedge, held by water and a pin that only just arrived. The armor needs that span. Dusk steals it if bombs drift that way. At his boots, the painted crescent hugs the wrong angle by a thumb. The runner slides in with another choice. The AA won't bracket unless ordered. Flashes will write lines across the decoy. Call for flak and outline your trick. Hold it and hope the lure holds by light alone. He sends a note. Hold until decoy takes splashes, then bark to push eyes away. Marie has already spent the day's paper and time. She moved 3 houses underground. She lied about dogs and milk. She marked a hedgerow and prayed her mark would keep someone from moving. She also sees tracks on the approach deeper than any broom could make. Heat sits in the clay from the convoy's almost mistake. She wants to pull the wake rope and erase the invitation. The rope sells the abutment from above. She leaves it. Around her, cows hold their breath. Boyd hears German through crackle, landmarks, hamlet east of Elms, sheen at the turn. He thinks Heinemann. Pride likes clean lines. Pride hunts the picture in its own head. He looks at the canvas and knows it's hollow in the dark ways that don't show. The current bends at a place they painted pure, and his soot holds. The cloud thins. The reveal will come on a wind they did not build. A flare hisses and opens over the south, friendly, and washes the river white. It peels their textures flat. Tar becomes mirror. Canvas becomes clue. Marie curses, flings her scarf over the nearest foil. Keene knocks Lampblack into wet palm and drags a new curve, faster than thought, to bend toward what the water actually does, not what he wished for it. He uglies his work. From a cockpit, a shadow that wants to be right is more forgiving than a shadow that's neat. He bets a bomb load on that instinct. An old man wheels a bicycle into the road as if nothing changed. He must have lifted their marker to fetch cattle. Marie meets him at the drawn wake. She scolds in Norman French that belongs inside kitchens. He taps the saddle and shakes his head. She snaps the pistol into the air, not to hurt, but to sting. Cows shuffle. He moves back 2 steps. She lies. Shells already fell here. Milk will sour. The Lord spares the obedient. The bicycle leans on hedge, as if thinking. Boyd's glass catches sharks under ice, 3 abreast, a second flight trailing. 1 belly glints. Camera. The square of light is a hook in Boyd's chest. It means a plate to brief from soon. He murmurs Heinemann's name like a charm that does nothing, sets his hands to the rope, and pulls wake where a human brain will accept it at speed. Marie squeezes 2 small hands in the cowshed and puts her shoulders between them and the window. Through slats she sees the soot crescent she and Keene bent into place. For an instant the lie is beautiful. Water made of cloth, shadow made of dirt. It feels obscene to love it. She loves that it might keep a tank and its crew off the bottom. She makes a promise she knows better than to make. This will be the last loud part. She will clap, they will count. She saves the counting for when it matters. The bombers commit. The air goes hard. Keene holds his hand flat to the Bofors. Wait. He locks eyes with Boyd. Are we right enough? Boyd tilts his chin, says it calm. Traffic scars and shadow, not shape. Let them see what they want. That is the work. In a cockpit, a trained glance falls on the river with a checklist. Shadow the right side, approach scars, surface disturbed, a rowboat wake. Heinemann, or the man next to him, sees a line that matches doctrine. The stick moves. The first stick walks their ripples. From the ground, the scream is animal. In the air, it is a solution. Water leaps white. Hessian hisses. The false span folds like a thing relieved. Fire runs tar along rope. Keene feels the victory he hates in his throat sink when shrapnel scythes sideways. A pain becomes sugar. A tile spins past his face, humming. Cows slam their pens. A white cloth flutters in a hedge and cannot mean anything now. Marie turns 2 heads toward her chest and tastes dust. She counts 1, 2, 3, with the next thud because the boy learned that rhythm an hour ago. The door shudders. Straw lifts. A wall takes a shard run. She choreographs breath with noise. It works because it has to. She feels small grit patter her hair and knows which roof just came apart by the pitch of the bellow under it. Boyd numbers splashes. More than he wants, fewer than he feared. Bombs kneel into the far bank where nothing stood and plow clay into reed beds with pointless rage. Their messiness, drum clusters not quite square, broom marks slightly off, shadow blurred, saves them. Crisp honesty would have dragged the walking stick to the reel. He hates that the right answer is to lie ugly. Under net, the bailie waits. A corporal balances the pin. A mallet taps. The sound is a clean heartbeat against steel. The river licks boots. Jokes arrive as breath and go. They cannot launch in the noise. The decoy has to hold men's eyes. Every minute they do is a minute a hand on a spanner stays alive. Cordite rides drizzle. The second wave arranges itself. It will rake diagonal and walk sideways into habit. A fall long slaps water beside Keene, mud into his mouth. He coughs and laughs once at his own worst thought. A smear of soot on canvas may have traded a farmhouse window for a tank across. The Bofors coughs twice, not to kill, but to make a hand jerk and a stick wander. It's something. Marie sees the stitch of bombs coming at the cowshed and pushes kids. The roof holds, the door splinters. Cows burst out, dumb with shock. A British helmet appears in the yard. The man raises both arms and turns them like he's always done this. Marie runs the path she marked at dawn, drops into a trench with a child under each arm, and sees a potato with a fork in it, waiting on the lip where someone stepped away in a hurry. She stares a second, the trivial detail anchoring an hour that is trying to blow loose, then hauls the children down with her. Boyd set, coughs clean German. Target satisfactory, secondary explosions observed, oil drums sighing, and second element sweeping. They will come again because they found something that behaves like a bridge. He wants to force doubt into a cockpit and can't. He does the smaller thing he can. He drags wake again until his palms skin and the surface argument goes in both directions. Keene signals Marie. Get the last farm out if she can without writing a fresher trail. She nods like she can. She looks at the white sheet tied earlier. It can be surrender or warning, depending on eyes. Moving it under this sky would draw a line a camera would love. She leaves it. She is stacking lies now because truth would make a straight road. Wind shifts. The smallest leaves speak first. The lid of cloud shears. Evening light cuts new. The shadow they bent so carefully flips wrong, upstream against current. The glint they couldn't reach flashes. The approach ruts now contradict the sun. All their noon fixes betray them. Boyd feels cold in his bones. Heinemann forgave messiness when doctrine agreed. He will punish contradiction at the second look. If doubt catches him, his stick walks to the next bend where a net hides steel 30 seconds away. Keene sees that door open and runs to slam it. He upends the last tar into his hands and sprints onto cloth. Canvas humps under him like muscle. River, numb cold, licks his ankles. He smears darkness against logic, bending it into the new sun, dragging crescents with his forearm. If he punches through, he drowns stupid and leaves a hole in the lie. He paints anyway. Behind him, Boyd claws foil from railing, buries mirrors in mud, kills flashes that are now knives. The bombers roll in disciplined. Through the Zeiss, for one breath, it's good enough. The crescent bends with water. The wrong flash is gone. The approach ruts still argue, but a moving eye under flak is tired. Boyd whispers, "Take the wrong thing again." In the trench, Marie hears the angle shift in the engines. A shallower dive has a different feel. They are coming to check with eyes. She shuts hers, sees apple racks and ladders in her old life, opens them to the current one where dust tastes like metal. She tells the children to count again and gets ready to clap. Her hands are raw. She will clap because the boy believes in the sound ending. They roll. Bombs walk the ghost again, maybe because the morning plate still lives in the nav book, maybe because a cheap win is an easy choice. Splash by splash, the decoy shreds into proof of itself. Tar flames once, then gutters. Duck cloth blackens and turns to rag. The oil drums pop, a ridiculous sigh. Shrapnel maps the hamlet again. Milk tins ring across thresholds. No lens can see that. People can feel it. Keene flinches at an airy pop. A flare washes everything clean again for a second. He shouts the lamp code to cut it. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short, because the white makes canvas shout, "I am fake." The order goes. The light dies. He and Boyd drag anything that might catch light off the rails. Choices at dusk are blunt. Remove shine and accept dull, or keep shine and invite attention. They choose dull. Enemy attention is the only score. Engines in the rye field, where the convoy folded itself away, tick and blow out heat in small ghosts. That heat will write on plates tonight. Boyd hisses and can do nothing except hope Cloud handles it. He hates that he's counting on a sky that hasn't cooperated all day. Marie crosses the yard and catches the farmer again. She presses paper into his hand, the liaison's mean promise about compensation, and shoves him toward the culvert only because he finally reads her eyes and not the ink. She wants to tell him nothing she can offer is worth his roof. There's no time. She points at the water and runs again. Boyd traces slant ranges in his head and decides to pull the wake one more time. He yanks the rope tied under Willow, arms pumping until his forearms scream, watchful of not falling into current. The surface scrawls crosshatch. Somewhere up there a plate will contradict itself. It's a thin edge. He stands on it. Under nets downstream, Ellison saws a farm cart axle into a new pin, dull blade screaming, breath hooked on his teeth. The sound is a promise. The pin seats ugly and true. A voice says the word everyone has held, launch. The Bailey moves on rollers like a drawer sliding in a good desk. Trusses find their sockets. The pontoon shudders. The nose kisses the far bank. Gloves slide under steel to check seat by feel. The first Sherman coughs its engine low and edges forward. The commander's palm is flat, the way you tell a nervous horse you mean no harm. Steel meets water and decides not to drown. Boyd watches the formation stagger and try to decide if it's turning home or angry for more. Dusk is a liar. He can't tell. He drags the rope until his hands slough. He says to Keene without faith and with need, "From 2000, they won't see the wrong." Keene nods. He has learned to accept useful lies from men he trusts. Marie comes back to a wall skinned off a cowshed. The white sheet she tied hammers, a symbol in the wrong hour. She writes on a half wall in chalk in French, then in English. Do not return until daylight. Mines. It isn't true yet. It will be when they're done. The lie now is a life later. She hates the balance and keeps her hand steady. The next pass is quick and practical. They drop and pull. Flack found a rhythm. The river lost its voice. Even hunters go home. Keene counts 16, then only 2, then silence thick enough for frogs to try a sentence again. He doesn't trust it until Boyd says fuel would have them turn now. They've turned. Keene sits because his legs don't remember the rules of standing yet. Drizzle returns and reclaims detail. He kneels and puts his hand in water because a ritual helps. It's cold and iron. A runner scrapes in with breath like a fight. A cross. The word carries weight and emptiness. Keene stands and lifts his chin toward the hedge where the Bailey is. The job now is to strip the lie and vanish. Dawn doesn't reveal as much as it settles an argument. It lays wet gloss over every broom mark and bicycle scar. A man with a camera climbs a hedge and makes the plate some staff officer will annotate with neat pencil: piers shattered where nothing stood, canvas torn into cork-flecked curls, waterlight where it churned. Recent disturbance stamped by a mind that wants to believe it was efficient. Far downstream under leaves, a Bailey truss catches a line of sun like a wet knife. Across it, machines roll and men pace slow, and you could count them if you had to. Keene signals Marie with 2 fingers. Pull the sheets, seed the culverts as warned, then take your people back one by one. Boyd walks the rail remains and kicks foil into mud until his boot is black. The Bailey clanks, steel warming under first light. Rope burns sting, tins reek of tar, and the river forgets. As the last mirror goes under, a runner arrives for the next bend, and Keene answers with the only order left that keeps the arithmetic honest: strip the lie, then move.